Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lex Talk World talk show presented by ClickAway Creators. Today, we have Dr. Akhil Prasad with us. He is Director, Country Council, India, and Company Secretary with Boeing India, based in New Delhi. He is currently on the board of directors for Boeing Group. He comes with over 25 years of experience as an in-house counsel and has worked with legal teams spread across different countries. Akhil has been nominated for Team Power List 2019, GC Power List 2018, Team Power List 2017, GC Power List 2016, 100 Legal Luminaries in India by LexisNexis, and among the finest India in-house counsel by Indian Corporate Counsel Association. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Akhil Prasad. We are pleased to have you with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Akhil, to start with, I would like to ask you about your personal and professional background and how did you start your career in the legal and how did it started?
So, I'm a first generation corporate lawyer. Nobody in the family was ever into any kind of employment because I come from a family which is based in Meerut Meerut, which is Western UP for last about 400 years. And all through the forefathers used to be landlords, well established in Meerut. My father was a doctor. He used to practice medicine, but his practice was more of a philanthropic practice. He used to see a lot of patients every day, about 500 to 600 patients every day. And the best part was that he never used to charge any fees from any of his patients. So he was a big name. He was a big name in Western UP, and he was very well known among everybody within the region, both from a personal standpoint, from his professional standpoint, and from his and the political standpoint, because in those times he was very closely associated with all the Congress leaders, including the Prime Minister at that point of time. So very well connected he was, and very well known. He was very well respected. He was. My mother, she was a professor of zoology, and then she served for almost 40 years before she retired. So I come from a very academic kind of a background, that my parents were quite well educated, so that education factor was also inside me. But as a typical youngster, I never had any inclination or any vision, to the extent that I never knew what I will do. I always thought that I will become a doctor like my father. But when I did physics, chemistry, bio in 12th, and then when I was told that I will not be a doctor, it was a rude shock. And my father said to me that you will not be able to survive because I do philanthropy, but for you, it may not be the right thing. So decide what you want to do. So that was, taking a decision suddenly was a big jolt for me. I was not prepared for it. So I got I got admission into BCom, in Meerut College. I, did pretty well. But then after that also, I did not know what to do. So I appeared for many examinations, MBA entrance examinations. I must have sat for about 40, 50 examinations. I failed in all of them. I could not clear even a single exam. I did pass on the written test, but never cleared the interview stage. So I was into deep depression. And then, I decided to work for some company. I wanted to start my career. So I was just about 21, 22 that I went to Bombay. I took up a job with SR Gujarat. And SR was my first employer. They hired me as a trainee. And the first job was to support the company secretary. That is how I got interested into doing that program, company secretary program. And I was very fascinated because SR was coming up with a 600 crore mega public issue. I was involved with the company secretary, but it was a very, I would say, a base level job that I had to go to the banks, collect bank statements, clean up the office space, which was also one of the changing moment in my life, that I was asked to clean a office space which SR had taken on rent, and I had to load the material on my back, load onto the truck, and that is the day everything changed inside me, that I realized that if I have to do something in life, education is very important. And what also struck me, that your legacy is what you are born with, but to continue your legacy, it's a different ball game. You have to really work very, very hard. And that is the time I realized that I should keep educating myself. This was 1989, 1990. And till last year, 2019, I kept on, I did a program. So I have so far acquired about 12 degrees. 12 degrees because, not because it was a necessity, it became a hobby. And it became a hobby that I am very fond of structured learning. And some people are fond of unstructured learning, but I am fond of structured learning. And that is the reason I kept, updating myself. In terms of career progression, also things started to change in 1991, when the economic liberalization took place. And, we were thrown up with great opportunities. And because of which, I was really fortunate to work for some very big organizations like Xerox, like Electrolux, like Walt Disney Company, like Fidelity, and now with Boeing. Um, and I've been fortunate to be the first GC of most of these companies. So I always replaced, a foreign lawyer who was heading that function. Um, Also, I realized that as this economic liberalization takes place, we are all global. It's a global environment for which education is very, very important. And that is the reason why I not only specialized myself into law from India, from US, from UK, I also specialized into business learning. So that's why I did an MBA from IE Business School in Madrid. And I also did a leadership development program with Wharton School. This was last year. So I believe that for any lawyer to be successful in today's world, it is very essential that a lawyer should also understand business and be able to translate that business knowledge to be able to help business in achieving its objectives. So it's been a mix of, you know, uh, taking the right opportunity, working for very different industries throughout my career. I have never repeated an industry because I like to take challenges. And that's the reason why I think not education is extremely important if you have to take new challenges in life.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with you. And this is a beautiful story when you started, and you were always keen to learn new things, and that's why you have always been working for different industries and have a lot of different exposures. Thank you so much for giving us that quick brief. Uh, According to you, Dr. Akhil, what are those three major aspects of the business that you consider the most important?
See, of course, for anybody to be able to contribute to the growth of business, whichever domain you come from, it is very important that you have to understand the business, especially for a lawyer, because we have the education system for us now has changed, because now we have BBA, LLB, BCom, LLB. But when I studied that time, the focus on business was not so much. And it became very important for me, at least, that my top priority was whichever company I'm working for, I should understand that business. And once I understand that business, only then I will be able to contribute properly in a senior management team meeting. I will be able to provide better solutions, which are not only legal solutions. Because in today's world, people can ask you not only legal questions. You are not hired to only answer legal questions. You are hired to provide business solutions. So that is one of the topmost priority for any lawyer, I would think, is to first understand your client's business, whether in practice or whether in employment. The second important thing, at least I believe, in today's world, especially after this COVID experience, is on the business resiliency, business sustainability. Because today, we used to talk about compliance earlier, but I think future is more on business sustainability. Learning from experiences like COVID, we need to really be able to now think very deeply whether a business that we are setting up, what if something like COVID happens again? should we be able to still operate under a lockdown? And I can give you examples that there are certain companies like Amazon who have been able to thrive on this opportunity. And they are delivering both essential and non-essential services. So business sustainability is one area which I think is extremely important for anybody, any organization to invest. Now we have to think whether it's a technology solution, how we can enable our people who can work from anywhere. That concept of people having to come to office every day, perhaps it no longer applies. People will be able to work seamlessly from wherever they are. So that sustainability, the is a it's a big think it's a big thinking. You have to really think very, very wide, that how do we make our organization sustainable and resilient. The third important thing to me is taking care, and which is the most important thing. I would club, so 3 and 4, if I club together, in terms of priority, I would say people and also your customers. So customers is something you need to really understand well. Who are your customers? You have to communicate with your customers every time, all the time, and be in constant touch with your customers. Because if you're able to build those relationships with your customers, in moment like whenever you have this crisis situation, your customers connect, which you have built over the years as an organization, will bail you out from any kind of a problem. And the same thing will apply to your employees. Today, employees have to be treated like they are owners. Employees should think like owners, that whatever they do, it has to be in the best interest of the organization. We are all contributing for the growth and prosperity of the organization so that our families and our lives are better. So that thinking is very, very important. So I would rate, sorry, you asked 3, but I gave 4. But 3 and 4, I would say are, I'm not saying these are 1, 2, 3, 4. Customer and employees probably is number 1 priority. But these are the 3 very, very important things which I think is very, very critical.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think the second point that when you talked about business sustainability is definitely a new addition. And such crises, such crunch situations, pressure situations make us learn and make us evolve and make us improve things, and how we can really come up with something which will be sustained if such a scenario again comes over in the near future. And very well said. And I think I should be thanking you instead of 3. You talked about 4, so that's completely fine. And thank you so much. Moving ahead, and I would also like to understand the 3 best practices that you would like to recommend to the young legal professionals, since I have been talking to a lot of law students these days, and I've realized that they're kind of not able to understand how COVID is really going to impact the industry overall. Is that going to be something which will stop their career right in the beginning? So for them, if you can please share 3 best practices that they should be following to have a flourished career in the legal space.
So one of the important things somebody said very appropriately, that the word impossible is in the dictionary of a fool. So the first thing which I will like to recommend all youngsters, young professionals, is never say that this is impossible. And especially the trajectory of your imagination. Today's world is converging. People are looking, companies are looking for people who have a very strong can-do approach. And people who are restricted, or people who say that, well, this is a finance matter, this is a legal matter, this is a sales marketing matter, perhaps it will be very difficult for such kind of people to survive in tomorrow's workplace. Because today your managing director or your head of business will come to you with a problem statement, something which he or she is not able to solve. You are an expert. You have been hired by an organization or by your client to provide a solution. We can't tell the client that this is, or we can't tell business that this is impossible. We may not have a ready answer, but we have to have a mindset that we are able to do a adequate research, talk to the right people, and get a solution for business. So that word impossible should be erased. It should not be there in anybody's dictionary. If we have to be a good service provider or a good team player. The second important thing is, for me, is education. And I always, wherever I go, whichever seminars I attend, whichever colleges I go to, I always lay a very strong emphasis on education. And I'm not saying that people should have 12 degrees like me. What I say is education is a constant process. It is not restricted to a legal degree. We have to open our mind. The world is very dynamic today, and we have to embrace and learn whatever is happening around us. So that learning is so important. And I can give you a very small example also. So while I started my career, um, I had to commute from my hometown Meerut to Delhi, to do my job. And I used to travel uh, 4 hours each side, about 7 or 8 hours every day. This I did for 12 years. Every day, 6 a.m., leave Meerut, every night come back home at 10 for 12 years. So the word impossibility was not there in my mind. I thought that those 12 years in the chartered bus that I used to take, which used to have 100 people in a 50-seater bus, sometimes I never got any seat, but my books were always with me. My book light was always with me. I always ensured that I am educating myself irrespective of the environment that I am in. So people may say today, well, I get tired because the metro train took so long. But imagine metro train is air conditioned. When I used to travel those days, the chartered buses were not air conditioned. But that impossibility word has to be erased. The constant focus on education has to be there. The third important thing is, what I would think is, everyone should act as a risk manager. The mindset should be that we should encourage businesses or clients to take risk, because there is no business unless there is a risk. And anybody who knows black and white, it's very easy for any person to read what is black, what is white. But the problem lies where it is gray. And that is exactly where the risk taking capability of a professional comes to the forefront. And that is what we should learn. It may not be taught in these schools, it may not be taught in a law school, but that is something which we need to develop, that we have to encourage risk taking capability, because unless we allow people to take risks, the business is never going to flourish. So a combination of these things, these three things to me are very, very important for development of any professional.
I definitely agree. And when you said your capacity or your capability to take that risk, because I heard somebody saying that no plans, no blueprints are success proven. You always have to go ahead and execute on them. And when you try and execute, there will be things which will not fall in place. And that's when the risk comes into the picture. As you rightly said, not everything can be categorized in white or black. There will be few things which will always be falling in the gray area, and you will have to always count them, and count them with your own capabilities and capacities. Thank you so much. I completely agree with you on this. Moving on, I'm very keen to know about the importance of adaptability for a professional, in your opinion.
Adaptability is the key, because as I said, today's world, what used to change in say 30, 40 years earlier, perhaps gets changed in 2 years today. So thanks to the digital environment, who could have thought that companies like Amazon, like Netflix, or like Facebook, Google would be the most valued companies in today's world. And if for any professional, what you have to become is a salesperson. What you have to become is a marketing person. What you have to become a legal person, a finance person, but not for one industry. So it's not that I am doing a finance course, I will only be able to work in an FMCG. I should able I should be able to adapt to a situation if it's a different requirement of a different client, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's hard stores, whether it's petroleum mining company, whether it's anything. The world is opening up. We just saw the Prime Minister's initiatives. He's trying to open the economy in a way which had never been done before. For example, defense manufacturing. For example, opening up of sectors which were just reserved for public sector companies. Now he's opening it up for private sector organization. So this is a huge shift in terms of the opportunities that India will see. We have seen such initiatives in the past, and thankfully these things are now continuing. And so this will throw up great opportunities. And a person will only be able to survive if a person is able to adapt. So for example, if I've just built my capacity for, say, an automobile company, I have switched jobs, I have moved from one automobile company to the other automobile company, I am become a automobile expert, or an IT professional who has only worked in an IT organization. But if there is a change in the business dynamics, I should be able to survive that wave of change. I should be like a surfer on the sea who is able to surf on any kind of a wave that tries to bring you down. That to me is adaptability. That is what we have to take those risks, build inner strength because of our education. All these 3-4 things that I talked about will build that adaptability so that you are able to surf any kind of a change that can hit us.
Thank you. I think absolutely makes sense. And in today's time, in today's world, when things are changing so rapidly, you can't really be relying on a single skill or for a single industry, so to say. So you always have to. You will face challenges, you will face changes, but you will have to adapt them, as you rightly said. Thank you so much. Moving on, and I think now we should also talk about the leadership. I think developing leadership in others before self is also important. What do you say about that?
See, that is a very important thing because this is, uh, a great concept which was there in our, earlier in times in history, but somehow, our education system was more, in a book format. But now what I see is there is a lot of focus on leadership development. And leadership development essentially means that we try and see our inner strengths. It is kind of a SWOT analysis of us and SWOT analysis of others, so that we are able to synergize with each other. We are able to hold each other's hand. We are able to encourage others. We are not able to not only take a spotlight on our heads that, oh, well, I did it. We should be able to say that we did it. And that concept of everybody coming together to achieve difficult things is what leadership is about. So that gray area is what I talked about in my earlier question. That zone of gray area where today's world operates the largest, because people are trying to do new things. Virgin Atlantic is trying to take people to space. Elon Musk is trying to build capacities for batteries. So there are many, many disruptive things which are happening in today's world. Startups are becoming unicorns because of this fact that they are trying to do something which has never been done before, for which it is important that leadership of oneself and leadership of others are developed simultaneously. Because unless you build a team, Virat Kohli will never win a World Cup. So that is how he wins a World Cup, that he has developed his own leadership. He has developed leadership of Hardik Pandya, of Rohit Sharma. So now you only don't have just one captain. Indian team can be led by 3 or 4 individuals because each one of them is a leader and that leadership has been developed. So same principle should be brought into an organization, that we do not rely on one person, but we develop such a talent pool of leaders that should something happen to one leader, the others are able to carry forward the business objectives. That can only happen when we have a broad mindset. We don't only think about our interest, but we take care of collective interest. That is what leadership means to me.
Fantastic. I think that Indian cricket team example will help a lot of us to understand, and that's absolutely true. Because I, being myself a true cricket fan, I remember when Kohli had to replace Dhoni, and everybody was like, "Hey, what is going to happen now?" But the way, I think you rightly said, the way he has developed that leadership into his teammates and has given them the opportunity to lead at times and to take this to make those important decisions in those crunch situations really makes them a better leader and prepares them for even nasty situations that may come in the future. With this, I would like to move on to the next one. And I'm very keen to understand the current situation. So what are your current priorities that you're working in your capacity, and what kind of future do you see coming over?
See, if we look at both the short-term outlook and a long-term outlook, I think if we really look at India as a long-term outlook, there is no doubt in my mind that India will continue to grow the way it has grown, especially after 1991, and the kind of reforms which are being now unleashed will propel the trajectory that India on a long-term basis. There is no doubt in my mind. But the recent COVID examples have definitely thrown up a lot of questions in professionals like me, that this is a great learning experience. We have to really take our pen or computer and jot down what are our learning experiences from this COVID. This is an immediate short-term exercise which I would suggest that each organization should do. That how did we get impacted so adversely in such troubling times, and what is it that we need to do to improve or to ensure. I'll give you an example. So I used to be with ITES organizations. I used to be with the automobile manufacturers. One thing which was very, very critical in those organizations was that there has to be a great focus on business continuity, BCP. And so when I was there, I never used to understand what it really means. But now I realize that in times of a crisis like this, companies like ours and similar companies which are in the technology or ITA space, 90 or over 90% of people have been able to work from home. So that is the kind of business resiliency or business continuity planning that these companies have implemented. So companies like Maruti Suzuki, they have announced the plans to restart the production because their manufacturing capabilities they have developed across different locations. So this is where I would suggest, and I would think, and I would myself devote a lot of time is, what is it that during this time of crisis could we have done better to build more robust organizations? And this question I would also like to throw to many startups. We will see that even during COVID, many startups were unaffected, even though they are startups. But some of them may not be able to operate. So instead of getting disheartened about the fact that, well, COVID struck me, COVID hit me, yes, it is unfortunate. But do we sit and say impossible? Or do we sit and say this cannot be done? Or do we sit and say and think that how it can be done? And what needs to be done? So that situations like COVID, if it reoccurs, God forbid, we are able to be more sustainable and better than what we are today. Long term, the future is bright. We are going to see disruptive changes. And I'm sure, with the kind of talent that we have in India, with the kind of startups we have in India, we are going to see more and more innovation coming up. I don't think anything will stop that.
Thank you so much. And I think you rightly mentioned that these situations are really making you test your potentials. Can you really come up with something better? And and I think it is also dependent upon what kind of a business you had. If even if I talk about startups or some of the MSMEs, what sort of a business you were in, and were you really suppressed by the COVID pressure? But then how did you evolve yourself? What changes did you make, and were you able to jump back or not, bounce back or not? So this is very important. Thank you so much, Dr. Akhil Prasad, for sharing those such great insights with our viewers. I'm sure this chat will not only help legal professionals to understand, but it can be shared with various other segments of individuals and groups who would like to learn from your experiences and would like to follow your advices to move ahead in this current situation times. So I would like to thank you once again for sharing those such great insights and taking out time for us. For our viewers, I would like to request you to sign up and follow our channel on YouTube if in case you want to have such interviews coming over and have such great insights from industry leaders. Thank you so much for joining us.